history of the rock crusher. It's a great story. Being in the garden center business, we have a lot of customers. And this particular customer came to me. He lived in a house in Reading, and he says, Eugene, I've got this thing in my backyard, and it's on its side, and it's half buried, and it has a wheel like your engines. And I'm saying, wow, that's really, I wonder what it is. And he said, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it does. There's some names cast in the wheel. Well, that just intrigues me to know it. You know, I'm going to do whatever I can to go see this. So I, sure enough, I drive to Reading, and I back driveway, rear house, rear lot development, and one house, and I go in the backyard, and sure enough, here's a New Holland rock crusher laying on its side, buried halfway in the mud. And it's just bigger than big, you know, because he wanted it out of his backyard, and I wanted it in my barn. So it was called synergy. He wanted it out, and I wanted it in. It was going to work perfectly. Now, to get it out was a different story. I couldn't bring a big machine. It was over a septic system. I couldn't bring any type of machinery over it. So we had to actually drag this unit out. And it was incredible how I did it, because I had a trailer, and I had my pickup truck, and I had to hook a winch to a tree to my truck, and then hook another winch from the back of the truck to the head of the trailer, and then a winch from the rock crusher to the trailer. And of course, you bring the rock crusher to the trailer, you bring the trailer to the truck, and then you winch the truck out with the tree, and you drive down the driveway. And it's really a phenomenal story, because those are one of those stories you can tell for a long time about, and I have it still, and you can see it run, and I have pictures of it where it sat outside my barn for 2 years, and I would cover it with a WD-40 and Marvel Mystery Oil, and I would put a monkey bar, 4-foot pipe wrench on it, and I would every now and then jump on it, and then put it on the other side, go backwards, and try to get it and heat it up, and then walk away from it. And you couldn't, a lot of people, hey, the more force you put on it, it'll eventually break. Something's going to break. I didn't want the wheel to break. I didn't want the shaft to break. I wanted the rust to break free. And so 2 years later, year and a half, 2 years later, it finally let go. And sure enough, it spun freely. And then, of course, you dismantle the whole thing, paint it up, New Holland red, and get it going.
We were working. We didn't have much time to drive them around to baseball games or football games. And so he'd be tinkering and then when he was like 10, 12 years old, he would take old lawnmowers apart and try to get them going, and very often he did. I mean, as time developed, he got better and better at it. So that gave him the interest and motivation to continue doing what he was doing. And he got his AMT license, which is a license that allows you to work on airplanes. You know, not anybody can work on an airplane. But that AMT license gave him the opportunity to know a lot about fixing things, whether it's airplanes or lawnmowers or tractors.
This engine would be used for multiple applications. It can be used to pump water. It would be used to chop silage.
After he graduated from Emerald University, he came back here, and then he started to think of his old machine, and he met the people who had these machines, and a lot of them were elderly people or older people who had done this their whole life, and he was very good at it, became good at it, because there obviously is a little bit of difference between a lawnmower engine and a one-lung engine. But they quickly realized that he knew a lot about it. And so as things went by, he was given one machine, then he bought a second one, and now he has a whole bunch of them.
My first hit and miss was a 1923 Fairbanks Morse dishpan engine, which was a small engine, horse and a half. They call it a dishpan because it didn't have spokes in the flywheels. It was a solid flywheel engine, and they looked like dishpans, and that's why they called it that. And that came out of Brookfield, Connecticut, and an old farmer sold it to me, and I was just ecstatic, elated, and brought that thing home. And of course, my parents look at it and say, "What is this? You know, and what are you doing here?" And it's all part of it, you know. Again, our 8N tractor, 1948 8N tractor, and I restored that. That came off our farm up in Morris, Connecticut, and then with the dishpan engine in the garage. Working after hours at night, had those too. That was the beginning of my collection. That's probably where it stemmed back to. When I was 13, even probably 8 years old, probably younger than that, but I can't remember those years.
You take a ride north and somebody takes a liking to you, and he's easy to take a liking to, and the next thing you know, they're saying, "Come on into my barn. My children are gone. They don't want any of this." Oh, he's been a tinkerer since the day he arrived. And like I've said in the past, he's 100 years too late, but he might have been there 100 years ago, and we got him secondhand because he is so into all of this and loves it and loves to teach other people about it.
There's two different basic types of engines that I work with, and one is called throttle governed, and the other one is hit and miss. So you'll hear these engines. One is very smooth and has a nice rhythm, and the other one is barking more or less. It just bang, you know, it speeds up and then slows down again, speeds up and slows down. Where the other one is much smoother, and that's the smoother one, of course, is the throttle governed.
He started to collect the engines, and with that, he met a lot of people, mostly older people who loved that stuff. It was a hobby for them. And a lot of those engines were found in old fields, and because those engines were the lifeline of the farmer in the early 1900s. They had no electric, but they needed power to run a saw, run a press. So when electric came, they had to get rid of these engines. So the way to get rid of them is to throw them in a pond. Good riddance. And they were built in such a way, a simple way, that you take them out and you work on them for a week and they run again.
Shop has a line shaft that was donated to me by the Post family, Roger and Ken Post. It's a Roger Post lawnmower repair shop in Danbury. Had a line shaft in it, and they said that they'd like to donate it to me to put up in my shop. Would I do that? And I said absolutely. That line shaft is incredible. It gets people going. It gets them thinking, and that's what it's really educational. Whether the dancing rings are up on top going back and forth on the line shaft to keep the shaft clean. It keeps it clean from the millings and the filings of the grindstones, and that you can, if you need to move a pulley, you can easily without having to clean the shaft. To run the lathe and the grinder and the hacksaw off one engine outside the building. And this is the way shops worked years ago.
He just loved to tinker. And as he tinkered, things developed. People brought things that they no longer had use for, that their children had no use for, so they put them over here at the barn, and Eugene tinkered with them. Eugene made things run. He educated himself and educated others who came here to the Fall Festival. Everything surrounded the fact that it was yesteryear, not today or tomorrow.
But he met all these people, and they realized that he was good with what he's doing, and he decided to have a fall festival, or as he calls it, yesteryear farm antiques. One-lung engines, old engines, potato peelers and cider presses and wood splitters and rock crushers.
The trench pump, which was originated down in New York, southern New York City, and they're still in business today. A friend of mine restored it in Brookfield, and I always saw it on the shelf of his shop for years. He's my diesel mechanic, and for years I saw it up there, and he restored it. It was beautiful. It had never been out in the rain. It was always up on there. It never ran after he had restored it, and it sat up there for years and years and years. And one year I was up at the Kent Antique Machinery Show up in Kent, Connecticut, and it was great because I saw the pump there for sale, and I said, "Oh, John's selling the pump. I can't believe it." And it wasn't that he didn't want to sell it to me, or he'd come to me and say, "You want to buy this?" He wanted an opportunity for everybody to, of course, financially one reason, I'm sure, and second of all, you take it to that show it off to people, and get the greatest interest. Well, when I saw it there was no question. Got on the phone, "John, where are you? I know you're here at the show." "I am. Where are you? I want to buy the pump." It's sold. Done deal, no questions asked. I didn't even know what he wanted for it, but I knew I wanted to get that pump. And it was used to suck out foundations and drainage pipe, where they're installing drainage pipes, gas lines or oil lines or water lines, where a trench would fill with water. And that trench pump would actually pump out rocks and stone, small rocks, very small rocks and pebbles and stones out of the trenches after a heavy rain without affecting the pump, because it was working off a diaphragm that would suck up the rock, sand, silt and pump it out so that the guys can continue working. And that company is still in business today. It's pretty neat.
The Fall Festival is a very tiring thing. Beats the heck out of you, especially at my age. And Eugene too. Eugene was a bush. And people go there, bring the machine, and they sit there and enjoy themselves, but that's not what Eugene does. Eugene does a lot of preparatory work to get this thing going. He invited a lot of people over, and they liked it here because it's not giant, and we make sure that all the machines have to run. There's a lot of these shows that they sell parts and they make money, lots of money, and he didn't want to do that. He wanted all these machines to run, doing something, pumping water, cutting wood.
I don't think I will go to that competitive of a tractor pull. I just want to have fun, and you can see it out there. People are having fun. They love to watch these tractors pull, and it's incredible. The younger kids love it, and the older kids really get into it.
Close it on the lower RPM, release the finger, allow the exhaust valve to close, allow compression to occur and suction, and for it to fire.
Blacksmith, he's amazing. I mean, he gets fired up with all of his equipment, his billows, the whole 9 yards, that he gets it so hot that he can put a piece of metal in there, pull it out, he pounds it down. There's just so much of the past that 99% of the people will never see. A horseshoe. I mean, he can pound a horseshoe out of a piece of metal that the rest of us look at and say, well, what can you do with that? And the next thing you know, he's got a horseshoe made. Yet he's a very young man also who looks back to the past.
We've been doing this for 26 years, the Fall Festival. And yet again, it's not a profitable thing, and we don't make any money on it. We certainly don't make any money on the whole weekend. But it's something that he likes to do as a hobbyist. And the other people too. You've seen some older people, you've seen some younger people. A lot of the older people will try to sell their equipment. They should give these machines to younger people, only to younger people who are interested. So this thing can go on. Otherwise, these machines will forever disappear. Once they're gone, they're gone.
Is my collection complete? You know, you always find things you see and find that you kind of like to have in the collection. I will be adding to it in a very, very short time, and hopefully in about a week I'll be adding to it. And it's a new engine, and it's a oil field engine, and it's a Reed oil field. It's a 15 horsepower Reed coming out of New Milford, Connecticut. So it's a big engine, and this is the largest engine I'll have, and it'll be in its own independent building. So yes, it will grow, but it's going to grow slower. I'm getting older, and they're getting heavier. That's for sure.